In this video, we want to talk about mindfulness journaling, how to do it and what you can get from it. Hi, I'm Ron with Leadskill, and we help leaders develop themselves and other people with emotional intelligence. So mindfulness, let's begin with a definition, and this is one of my favorites, coming from Jon Kabat-Zinn, one of the leaders in the field. Mindfulness is the awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. So there's a lot in that definition, and if you want to rewind it and go back just to soak it in, I really recommend that, because there's at least 5 parts that come into that, but each one of those is really important. It's like different facets on a diamond. And mindfulness is something as simple as just calming yourself down and breathing and getting very centered. To be present with awareness on purpose and to be non-judgmental is really the whole essence of what makes mindfulness such a challenging practice for us. So how do we bring that to journaling? Is it as simple as just bringing that kind of mindfulness of being present and aware and being on purpose and non-judgmental and doing that when we're writing in our journal? Maybe, but I don't think it's quite so simple. So I've been doing journaling for a long time. My wife and I both have practiced this and made it a long time exercise that we engage in. So what is mindfulness journaling? Maybe it's helpful to give you a contrast. So one of the ways that we got started into journaling was what my wife calls junk journaling. And there was a writer, Julia Cameron, who talked about doing morning pages, and another writer as well, Natalie Goldberg, who in Writing Down the Bones talks about just putting your thoughts out on paper, on the page, and writing without lifting your pen and not worrying about punctuation or grammar or any of those things, and just writing for a set period of time, a timed writing exercise, as just a form of pure self-expression. And what my wife calls that junk journaling is because a lot of times what comes out is all of the messiness and the chaos that is in our thoughts, in our mind. It's not mindfulness. It is often an important precursor or a preparation for mindfulness, but by itself, it's not mindfulness. One of the ways that you could practice junk journaling is to get yourself the cheapest journal possible. And I'm talking about, at least here in the United States, one of those 50-cent or $1 composition notebooks that we buy kids that they take to school and write in, something like this. And you can see there's just all these ruled pages. It's very inexpensive. It's something that you can actually write in and not worry about just filling up the pages and spilling all the ink on the page and getting your thoughts out and your emotions, just emoting. What would mindfulness journaling actually look like? It was a big step forward for my wife Angela and I whenever we decided to actually splurge and invest in ourselves, to buy a really nice journal, like something that was leather bound or something that just had a really nice or pretty binding to it. And we said, we want to make sure that we fill it with things that are worthy thoughts, that make it a really rich and worthwhile experience. We want to bring our best thinking. And to me, that's a lot of what mindfulness embodies, is being very present, bringing our best to whatever we're doing it on purpose, and doing it without the judgment of, oh, is this good or is this bad, or am I really doing my very best? So we're not really worrying about that. We're just bringing that intention, that awareness that I'm going to give my best to this. So here's an example of a mindfulness journal. It's in bullet journal format with the dotted grid instead of having the lines. And if you think about the bullet journal method, This took the world by storm starting 7-8 years ago. And Ryder Carroll, the originator of the bullet journal method, said something very interesting about the bullet journal method. He said, it's actually a mindfulness practice disguised as a productivity system. Now there's a lot within that quote too to unpack, because a lot of people just use a bullet journal as a way to organize themselves and to do time management. So you set up calendars, you set up a monthly list and logs, and annual list and checklist, and you're just, think a lot about your to-dos and maybe doing a tracker of certain habits that you want to practice on a regular basis, and putting some of your thoughts down, and you can paste things into it, poetry or something that you come across in your reading that you really want to document or to include into your bullet journal. And all those are great things. But that's basically using the bullet journal as the productivity system. But Ryder Carroll said it is a mindfulness practice disguised as a productivity system. So how would you bring that mindfulness to your bullet journaling? We have found that you can actually do this by freeing yourself up from the lines of the typical ruled journal, like I showed you just now in the composition notebook. You can still write on the dotted grids and use them as lines, but you can also draw or doodle or sketch and put some of your thoughts and your mindfulness into some sort of an illustration, into some kind of a form that is beyond the words. Words are great, but if you need something else, some sort of illustration, that can be even better. You can also put stickers into your journal and just messages to yourself. Some people put affirmations like what I want to embody, who I am. What are the sort of positive, centering messages that I want to focus on, that I want to feed my mind and my spirit on a daily basis, on a regular basis? Those are all some of the ideas that you can put into your bullet journal. And I showed you just now, this particular bullet journal that we have has the feelings wheel on it. And one of the great things I've found for this is when I'm doing mindfulness practice, I often want to ask myself the sort of questions like, what am I feeling right now? What am I feeling? What are my emotions? What are my thoughts? And if you have a feelings wheel and it's right there on the front cover, you have a ready reference so that you can really tap into the full range of your emotions and put them on the page. Even more important, I find, than just simply naming or labeling what I'm feeling is delving into what's behind it or what's underneath it. Why am I feeling this? And over time, actually paying attention to the patterns. Because just as we made the distinction between mindfulness journaling and junk journaling, when we're junk journaling, we're just putting everything out, spilling it out on the page, and we're not really taking the time to look at it with a little more awareness. When you're being mindful, you bring awareness to the process. And when you do that, we have found that you can actually start seeing patterns. And when you can see the patterns, when you can name it, then you have access to managing it and deciding, do I want to keep repeating this pattern? Is it serving me? Is this a habit that I actually want to continue repeating? Or do I want to, on purpose, design better habits that are going to support me, or break old patterns, old habits that are not serving me anymore? I don't have to judge them and say they're bad or, bad me, it's so awful. There's no need for that. You can just say, thank you. You served me up to this point, and I'm ready to move on. I want a new habit that I can practice. And then you put it into your mindfulness journal, and you can set up a tracker. If you want some of the details of that, there's plenty of ideas all around some of the videos that you find right here that talk about how to set up a bullet journal or how to do mindfulness journaling. But I have found just getting our mind right in the first place is more than half of the battle. That we're not really trying to do junk journaling of just dumping all of my garbage thoughts on the page. And we're also not just trying to do a to-do list and a productivity system, time management. But if you try to bring the best of both, you bring mindful practice to your journaling, you can see some really amazing new insights into yourself, how you're relating to the world, to people around you, and to yourself. And from that basis, you can start building up into the person that you want to become. I hope this has been helpful, and I invite you to subscribe to our channel. If you want to get a copy of the journal that I shared with you, you can find details in the links below. We also have copies of our emotions wheel, either in digital form or you can have posters that you can put up on the wall. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.